Welcome back, Goku-san DBZ of course, and this is a new two-part special. This is 50 of my personal favorite platformers of all time in gaming. And this will include stereotypical platformers with indie platformers and hybrid platformers like hack and slash platformers, RPG slash platformers. The point is, though, it has to be at least 50% or predominantly platform themed. So, with that said, and this is across all platforms, so with that said, some of these I'm sure some people would disagree with, and that's fine, to each their own. First, coming in at number 50 was I played it, and I will be mentioning which platform I played the game for and I liked the most. Coming at 50, I played on the PS1, is based on the Pixar film with the same name. Of course, at 50 is A Bug's Life. Now, I think it's actually a relatively good, solid platformer game. I actually like. I think of Disney slash Pixar film video game adaptations. I think A Bug's Life turned out one of the best, hands down. There are a few others here and there that I don't mind, but A Bug's Life is the one that probably for me best because of nostalgia factor, and I thought it played better than Toy Story game. Coming at number, or rather at 49, played on the PS3, and that is a game I feel doesn't get the love it actually should get, and that is Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. I personally like the game a lot more than I think quite a few people do. I think it controls really well. I love the art style of the Sly Cooper series. It's a really good platformer series that I recommend to anyone. Coming in at 48, played on the Game Boy, and that is Mega Man 4. That was the original platform, first time I ever played any actual original Mega Man games was on the Game Boy, funny enough, was where I got introduced. And I think it was a pretty good first experience, and I think actually Mega Man 4 is a really solid, really great game and plays really good, surprisingly, on the original Game Boy. Coming in next for the Nintendo GameCube, Shadow the Hedgehog. It's definitely one of the more controversial, I think, Sonic universe games. And personally, I actually enjoy the game, though it does have repetition and other things. I still like the game for the most part, more than some people. It's either you love it or hate it type game, as much as really the Sonic series in general. It's a very divisive franchise. Coming in at number 46, played on the original Xbox, is more of like a action, like beat 'em up or like action, third person action game meets platformer, and I personally like it. And it's interesting that more people don't break this game up actually and that is Vex. It is actually a really fun game. It was probably the first platformer I actually ever played on the original Xbox. So, also it has that going for it, nostalgia factor and everything. Maybe it clouds my better judgment on Vex overall as a game, but that's just my taste, in my opinion. Just like all these lists that people give, is going to be subject to their own bias and opinion. The difference is, at least I'm going to be upfront about it, unlike some YouTubers. Coming at 45, play on the 3DS. Really solid, really enjoyed it, and that is at 45, Sonic Generations. Really good game. I think it plays excellent, and it was an interesting way to mush together or combine together like old school Sonic with more like Sonic Adventures era Sonic. And I think it did a really good job, and I liked the over the top, ridiculous storyline. Coming at 44, played originally on the Game Boy Advance. That being Mega Man and Bass. Interesting game, and I think overall still a really solid game. One of the best Mega Man games I've played mobile wise on handheld. Coming in at 43, played on the original PlayStation, and that being Mega Man X6. Personally, I love the X series as a whole. It is my favorite Mega Man series, and I always will love the Mega Man X series. But yeah, X6, I think the game looks gorgeous, has really good 3D art style. I love the 2D, not 3D, but 2D art style. I really dig it. I think it plays solid. I don't know why more people don't talk about X6 though. Coming in at 42 is Super Star Wars for the Super Nintendo. Easily, probably one of the absolute hardest games on this list by far in difficulty. I still have nightmares remembering when I was a kid playing Super Star Wars for the first time. I did not know what I was in store for, and boy, did I learn very quickly how hard the game was. So people today who complain, is Dark Souls hard? Yeah, but speaking as someone who grew up in the 16-bit era, quite a few games were pretty difficult in the 8 and 16-bit eras. Ninja Gaiden, anyone? Though Ninja Gaiden series has managed to keep its difficulty throughout the years, surprisingly. Though I think Ninja Gaiden Black, hands down, is easily one of the hardest games I've ever played. But with that said, next up we have at 41, played on the PS1, the original Jak and Daxter. Of a definitely beloved series nowadays, of course, originally created by Naughty Dogs. Really good series, and I still really like the original Jak and Daxter quite a bit. It's interesting looking back, and maybe sometime in the future I'll do a recorded playthrough of some of the different Jak and Daxter games. Next, at 40, I originally played it on the 3DO. I originally, for the first time ever, got it for the PS1, but I haven't played it yet, so 40 goes to the 3DO version, and that's the original Gex. Gex, classic in my opinion, and it's one of the best games for the 3DO. But to each their own, but if you have a 3DO or think about getting one, I consider Gex a must own for it. Coming at number 39 is a game I'm surprised more people don't talk about. I personally like it quite a bit. And that being originally played on the PS1, and that being Spyro 2, Riptor's Rage. Personally, it's surprising. When most people talk about Spyro, they always talk about Spyro or like the one on the PS2 and stuff, like the Legendary or whatever, the sort of remake. Personally, I wish Spyro 2 would actually get more love than it does. It's surprising because Spyro 2 is a really good, solid game in my opinion. But with that said, coming in at 38 is a platformer that definitely has a lot of glitch issues, and I want to eventually get my hands on a copy again, but it's getting pricey. Like, the average price now for the game is like $60 and up. Released on the PS1, and it's a, in my opinion, somewhat underrated game. It is called Jersey Devil. Really good game, in my opinion, for the most part. Maybe it's more of a guilty pleasure game for me personally, with the nostalgia factor and everything included. But I think it's a really solid game. It's a really good game to play for Halloween. It's a good family-friendly game. Coming in at 37, played on the PSP, and that being Mega Man Powered Up, which is basically a sort of remake of the original Mega Man game with 3D graphics. But I think it's actually really good, and it plays just as solid as the original Mega Man, though I think they actually made some improvements overall with the game versus the actual original version. If you're going to play Mega Man 1, I personally recommend picking up Power Up for the PSP. It's one of the best platformers on the PSP in my opinion. Coming in at number 36 on the PS3, and that being the 2008 sort of reimagining or attempted reboot of Prince of Persia. Yeah, I actually like the game. It's definitely a very divisive game, I think Prince of Persia was. I personally enjoyed it, though I can understand how some people maybe don't like Prince of Persia 2008. Maybe they prefer... Do I think Sands of Time is the best Prince of Persia game? Yes, I do. But still, I think the 2008 was a really solid overall game, and it is a shame that more people don't give it the love I feel it should get. Coming in at number 35, played on the PS1 originally. Way too expensive to get for the Saturn. And that, coming at 35, is Mega Man 8. Now, from this list, you should notice, yeah, Mega Man is going to hold quite a few spots on this list, as well as Sonic. That's the thing, those are the two platformer franchises I grew up playing the most of. I love Mario, but the amount of games overall, I definitely have a little more love towards Sonic and Mega Man versus Mario, though there are Mario games I love and highly regard. Coming in at 34, for the original Game Boy, a game series I feel is very underappreciated, and I love to see a remake or like an attempted new game in the series. Coming in at 34 is Super Mario Land for the original Game Boy. Great Mario game. It had the Mario Land series had some interesting new character designs, new stages, and I felt as a Mega Man game or Mario game, Super Mario Land I feel is one of the most unique of the platformer Mario games. I wish they would go back to, but it's like for some reason Nintendo just ignores the Super Mario Land series. I would love to see like a remastered or something upscaled, improved, or just a flat out remake of it. But hopefully, eventually, Nintendo shows some love to the Super Mario Land series. Coming in at number 33, played on the PS2, and that being Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoons. Interesting game. As I said before, I love the Sly Cooper series. I love the cel shade art style it went with, which made it very distinctive from other platformers of that same time period. When you had games like Ratchet and Clank or Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper was off doing its sort of own thing with its own signature art style and design overall, and I appreciate it. That's what, for me, is what made Sly Cooper very distinctive and different from other platformers of that time period on PlayStation. It helped give it its own theme, and I think because of the cel shade art style, it's aged drastically better graphically speaking from Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter. Though of the franchises as a whole, I probably love the Ratchet and Clank series the most, but Sly Cooper I think has been one of the more consistent series overall. Coming in at 32, play originally released on the NES. However, I played it technically in the Mario All Stars collection. Coming in at 32, of course, recently released in the special Game & Watch. At number 32 is Super Mario Bros. A all-time classic platformer, all-time classic Nintendo game, all-time classic Mario game. And it was the first Mario game I actually played. The first Mario game I ever actually owned was Super Mario World. So each have their own special place for me. And Super Mario, of course, Land was the first handheld Mario game I ever played. So each of these Mario games holds a special place for me because of the time period I was introduced to each game in. Coming in at number 31, played originally on the PS1, another great installment in the series in my opinion. Coming at 31 is Mega Man X5. Mega Man X5 plays great. Difficulty-wise, it's probably one of the higher difficulty Mega Man X games in my opinion, but still, it looks great. I think graphically, it's aged very well. Mega Man X5 in general is great. I was unfortunately not really lucky enough early on to play X2 and X3 until the X collection on PS2 because of how bloody expensive Mega Man X2 and 3 are. Even the Japanese imports are relatively expensive, though nothing compared to the American version. But I do appreciate PS1 for getting so many Mega Man X games. That's the thing, the PS1, in my opinion, is one of the best consoles for platformers as a whole. It's probably the best platformer PlayStation console, in my opinion. If you specifically love that genre, though I dare say PS1 is also great for fighting games and survival horror, but platformers is definitely what convinced me originally to get an original PlayStation. Was because of Mega Man and Crash Bandicoot. Coming in at number 30 for the Sega Genesis. This would be the game I would get in a bundle pack with my original Sega Genesis many years ago. And that being Sonic the Hedgehog comes in number 30. Sonic as a whole, the original, is an all-time classic. The music is iconic. The first stage of the game has become super iconic for video games as a whole. And this was my introduction to Sonic. This was my introduction to Sega. And pretty much, there's been no looking back for me personally. I will always have a special place for Sonic 1 and for the Sega Genesis, because it was the very first console I actually ever owned, was the Sega Genesis. Super Nintendo would come about a year or two later. But I will always appreciate Sonic for being also the first platformer I ever owned. Though Super Mario Bros. Will always be the first platformer I ever played. But with that said, coming in at number 29 is another game I think that doesn't get the love it should, or as much love as it should. At 29 is a great action platformer, and that is Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones, which is a solid game overall in my opinion, and yet still it gets overlooked by quite a few people, and I'm not sure why. When people talk of Prince of Persia, they usually almost always only talk about Sands of Time. As I said, greatest game in the Prince of Persia series, but there's other Prince of Persia games that deserve equally as much love. This one specifically also deserves a lot of love. More so, for me, it's probably my second favorite of the Prince of Persia games, for me personally. 2008 would probably be in third. But with that said, coming in at 28 is a game that I think is underappreciated, and hopefully, thanks to the 3D All Stars collection, more people will come to appreciate the game. And that is at 28 for me personally, Super Mario Sunshine for the GameCube. Solid game, very unique game, I will add. Super Mario Sunshine only, of course, last year got it again, but it was actually one of the first GameCube games I actually ever played. It, along with Star Wars Rogue Leader, Rogue Squadron 2, and Pokemon Colosseum were like the first three GameCube games I ever played. So, needless to say, and by the way, I never originally had played Mario 64, Super Mario 64, whatever, before I played Sunshine, so I didn't have that bias that a lot of fans of Mario 64 had going towards Sunshine. So it allowed me to appreciate Sunshine more so as a game, and I like the game mechanics of Sunshine. I think it controls really well, and I wish more people would show the love that it actually deserves. Gameplay aspect, I think it's one of the best. It is probably the most creative games in the Mario franchise for me, in my opinion. The art style looks great. I love the fact it's so unique and distinctive from any other Mario game in the franchise. These things are things that really help it for me personally and to keep a special place for me. Coming in at number 27, played on both the original Xbox and the Nintendo GameCube. Um, that being Sonic Adventures 2 Battle, which is a solid game, and it had some add-ons from the original Sonic Adventures 2 on the Dreamcast. I actually never got Sonic Adventures 2 on the Dreamcast, which kind of sucked, though I did play, and still off and on play, Sonic Adventures 1 on the Dreamcast. But more recently, I'm glad I managed to finally get the GameCube version again. I originally owned the game the first time around on the original Xbox, but I will admit I like the controller, the GameCube controller better for the gameplay of Sonic Adventures 2. And I think the game is definitely, in my opinion, probably in the top 5 best Sonic games of all time. Just my opinion, keep in mind. Coming in and the last for this list is an indie game. It gets at number 26, played on the PS4, and that being the great, super hard, but really fun game that is Shovel Knight. Comes in at number 26, so with that said, and that's the first half, stay tuned. Next weekend, I will do 25 to 1 of my top 50 favorite platformers of all time. So with that said, leave a comment. What are some of your personal favorite platformers of all time? What crossover genres was your personal favorite platformer franchise of all time and mascot? But with that said, I'll see everyone next time. Same YouTube time, same YouTube channel, and stay safe out there.